it's Wednesday at 4 o'clock, which means it's time for tears. Kevin Wildes always has a really great introduction for this segment.
Are you going to intro yourself?
I thought that would be a little self-aggrandizing, self-important, and you guys know I'm humble if nothing else. So I didn't want to do that. But I also didn't want to, befoul Wildes' reputation. So I said, who can we ask to step in? Here's Colin Cowherd.
Wow.
Let me get you caught up to speed. Last night, while desperately trying to nurse Wildes back to health, a select committee of analysts, intelligentsia, and one guy wearing a heating pad fought and toiled and burned the midnight oil to deliver the best segment in all of sports media. It's an honor and privilege. It's time for Knicks Tears. You better deliver, buddy.
Thanks so much, Colin. Well done. We appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Down to just 8 teams on the tiers because there's only 8 teams left, so let's get right to it. At the bottom of the tiers, stuck in the middle. So this is the Cavs. Tough decisions ahead this offseason, I think. They probably should make some significant moves. Donovan Mitchell could force their hand. Remember, ownership has been like, oh, Donovan's going to resign. Donovan was asked, I was like, I don't know about that. Only 1 year left on his deal. They are a good team. They're obviously a good team. But can you ever see this core being a great team? I can't. So this is stuck in the middle, some tough decisions. Missing their star, the Indiana Pacers. Now, what's unfortunate, unlike the Heat, whose star was out injured, or the Bucks, whose star was out injured, their star is there. His name's Tyrese Halliburton, but they're still missing him. Oddly, they've really been missing him in the last couple months.
Right.
Ever since he came back from the injury, he has been a shell of the player we saw the first month and a half of the season when it looked like he was going to be first-team All-NBA.
Is he even
Game 1 of this playoff series, he had 6 points on 6 shots. The second half of Game 1, he had 1 field goal attempt, 3 turnovers. It was a
little
bizarre,
more, and they may win that.
Right, it was a bizarre performance. For them to have any chance in this series, he needs to recapture at least a little bit of what he had at the beginning of the season. Massive recalibration. From dynasty talk to what changes do we need to make? That could happen within 10 days. If Minnesota sweeps them, can they just run it back next year? If Minnesota runs them off the court in this series, can Denver what are they going to say was the reason? Because Reggie Jackson turned his ankle? Because Jamal Murray wasn't 100%? Now, maybe that would be an overreaction. But I know we were having the discussions about where Jokic is going to be in the Pantheon. Could Calvin Booth of the Nuggets talked about, our focus isn't necessarily on repeating, it's building a dynasty. Well, I don't know. I know this. Some of the biggest games of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray's lives are coming up here in a few days. Next, Jake LaMotta. Scrappy, hard-nosed, New York City-based. Not sure how you keep doing it. Probably a little extra love and legend because of where you're from. But a team, much like the boxer made famous by De Niro and Raging Bull, hard to take your eyes off of. You know that it's going to come down to the final minutes. I encourage you to watch the whole Knicks games, but also if you don't, it's going to be tied with 3 minutes left. And some weird stuff's going to happen at the end, and Thibodeau's going to seem furious, and Josh Hart's going to be hyperventilating. I know that's going to happen. Next, waiting for the Luka leap. Listen, the only chance the Mavs have is if Luka has a brilliant month of basketball. They didn't need him to be great against Bruce X, the Clippers. They do need him to be great against any team they have left. Kyrie, I feel like, shout out to Kyrie for me being able to say these words. Kyrie's very reliable. Like, I kind of know what we're going to get from Kyrie, but I don't think Kyrie has the ability to all of a sudden average 40 for a 3 or 4 game stretch like maybe he could have in his heyday in Cleveland. But I think he's going to give you 25 to 35 most games. They're going to need Luka, particularly without Maxi Kleber out there, to be brilliant. If not this year, listen, Boston, you deserve more credit than you've gotten on this show. I will say that. You had a historic regular season, all-time great margin of victory. You won the conference by 12 games. You've played 1 bad playoff game. And so you deserve credit for all of that. But in a year where Embiid was compromised, where Giannis was out, where Jimmy Butler was out, where Jokic might get knocked out before you have to deal with him. If you don't finish the deal and win the title this season, how can anyone say next season or any season with this group of guys is going to be different? And by the way, you decided this is going to be your team when you gave Drew Holiday into his late 30s that giant contract extension. LeVar Ball. Never lost and not that respected. So this is what we mean. Like, they're literally undefeated in these playoffs. They're on a 10-game winning streak. They have a number 3 offense in basketball, number 4 defense, best 3-point shooting team. They don't turn the ball over. And I am yet to see one pundit in a world where every take exists, including the best thing for LeBron James' basketball legacy is to stop playing basketball. That take exists more often than this take. The Thunder are going to win the title. I haven't seen it. It's a unicorn take. Yeah. So, but they are undefeated. And then, last but not least, Greg Jennings, attempting to rewrite history. The Timberwolves are attempting to rewrite Nikola Jokic's history, the Denver Nuggets' history. They are also attempting to rewrite what it means to be a great 22-year-old in this league. Because the greatest 22-year-old, as far as carrying a team that we've seen, was LeBron in 07, right? The 48 special, getting that Cavs team to the finals and then get summarily dispatched by the Spurs. We've seen Kobe as the number 2, Magic as the number 2, even though he was brilliant throughout. The idea that you could be the best player on the champion at 22 seemed impossible and has been impossible. Anthony Edwards trying to change that, and that is the committee's tiers.
I like the tiers. I'm going straight to the Nuggets. Massive recalibration. I understand where you're headed there because of what the Timberwolves are doing, but it's just that. You see where the Timberwolves are, they're at the top of the tiers. They're making this Denver Nuggets team rethink who they are. And at the end of the day, this is a really good team. They just happen to be playing a team that is younger, more athletic, that is scrappier, hungrier, that does not care, that realizes last season we were without a couple of our guys that are making a massive difference in this series this year. And so I don't think that there needs to be a massive calibration for the Denver Nuggets. I just think that they run into the wrong team at the wrong time. Nikola Jokic is having the most difficult time playing at and dictating the pace of which he normally plays than we've ever seen him. We've never seen him like this. Jamal Murray, obviously, I mean, he might as well be suspended because he hasn't shown up for the first 2 games. So for me, this team just needs to get back to who they are. They understand what it takes to win a championship. They just did it. Just play ball. I'm not saying they're going to win.
No,
but I think they're above the Knicks and the Mavs.
Okay, that's fair. I think the Knicks and the Mavs have a better chance of being in round 3, even if they're not as good as Denver. But what your point is fair. Like, it depends on how you want to look at the tiers. You mentioned something that I do think's been glossed over, and it's just warrants repeating. When they played in the playoffs last year, Naz Reid had just gotten hurt, and Jaden McDaniels, unfortunately punched a wall and broke his hand. And so, and even with that, and I know the Nuggets 1-5, Brew, but people were like, oh, Minnesota, you know what I mean, played them tough. And now you see how much better Ant is. All those things. I think there is something really there. Go ahead, Brew.
You have come off the Mavs awfully quick.
What do you mean?
You got them a lesser chance than the Thunder. I mean, if you got the Thunder ahead of them, that tells me you got the Thunder winning the series.
It's a committee, bro. How many times do we have to tell you it's a committee? There's my vote counts.
I don't know. My source on the committee said you were pushing.
Your source on the committee, exactly. On the committee. My vote counts double, but it can't overtake the entire committee. They don't believe in Luka as much as I do. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm moving the OKC below Boston and Dallas.
Oh.
All right. I'm moving Dallas or Boston to number 2, Dallas to number 3.
Got it.
We've talked about it, OKC has to rewrite history. Dallas, look, Mavericks fans, don't be shaken from what happened last night. This is what you do. Under Jason Kidd, they are 0-5 in the first game of a playoff series. And of the previous 4 series, they came back to win 3. All right, they looked horrible against the Clippers in game 1. Obviously, we know how that series went. So Dallas, I think, will be fine and has a great chance to win this series. So I'm moving them ahead of OKC. And of course, Boston, look, Derek White is stepping up, playing unlike we've ever seen him. I think Jason Tatum is going to find his shot. He's still playing well in other areas. Remember, Kristaps Porzingis is coming back. So now that White has been unleashed, I think that's just going to make them even better when Kristaps gets back for probably the conference finals, and you would think certainly the NBA finals. So I got to move Boston and Dallas ahead of OKC.
That's fair. I'll also say we should say when we're talking Celtics, we've talked about Derek White playing the best ball of his life, Tatum struggling shooting. Jaylen Brown's been consistent throughout and deserves credit. Greg, it looked like you were about to say something there.
I'm just shocked that he's moving. So you're saying the Mavs are going to win this series?
He doesn't. Yeah, he's got the Mavs like I have the Mavs.
They're your Mavs.
No. They're bruised T-Wolves.
They're his T-Wolves.
They are.
I meant to bring
Did you see the show yesterday?
I've been watching the show.
Did you see?
I've been watching the show and listening to you with all this bruised T-Wolves.
No one else, including you.
Clippers got clipped.
Yeah.
No one else, including you, because you still making appearances here and there. All right. No one else a week ago was saying Timberwolves, except me.
I think Greg,
now you got everybody after game 1. Oh,
Greg's a season ticket.
You know what? I feel
you
slighted because
picking the Timberwolves.
I was picking the Timberwolves. Yes, I was.
Over the Nuggets.
And you would have known if I'd have been on your radio show that you don't want to have me on anymore.
All right,
because you don't want me talking football.
Coming up next.
We're gonna bring you on.
Do the Cowboys actually believe in Dak Prescott? We'll discuss that next. First things first. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.